Welcome to NET Vapor Reviews. Today's review is more of a tutorial for beginners, not vaping, those who are vaping but on stock coil and they want to upgrade to mouse to long RTA. I received quite a few requests from vapers who enjoy watching a review on a new mouse to long RTA. They watch the close-up, but they haven't got the full spectrum of what tools is needed and each tool for what is meant for, and different types of deck. The whole concept of building your first mouse to long RTA is missing from the information. It's missing from their knowledge. So what they find themselves into a situation where is they would love to try a mouse to long RTA where the flavor is superior to a stock coil. And in the long run, it will save a lot of money to a vapor. No need to change the coils so often. You just clean them, re-wick, and carry on. And such a huge selection of top mouse to long RTAs that, for instance, you can check my channel. So it's a real need for these type of vapors, to give them a guide on exactly what they need tool-wise and how to use those tools, what they're meant for, to build the first mouse to long RTA. And it's the first time for everything, and after the first time, the second time is much easier. And then they could enjoy the full flavor of mouse to long RTAs could offer these days. Now, I was meant to do this recording quite a while, and for some reason, every time something else came up and it was postponed. So today I decided to bring about the three sections. The first section that I'm talking to you now to explain what's the review about. The second section will be a close-up that I coiled and wicked the NatureVape Galaxy mouse to long RTA with the La Tabacaria English mixture that I enjoy so much with in the mornings. Delicious, full-bodied, smoky, just absolutely stunning liquid. And to put this in a stock coil, it wouldn't last more than 2 days because this is a full-bodied, smoky liquid. So that will be the second section, and then after the close-up, we'll talk about it on top a bit more. So we'll go through very quickly the list of tools you need. I hope this review wouldn't be too long. I hope to finish it within between 40 to 50 minutes. But if you're going to watch this review, you can always fast forward on the sections that you already know. It's better to have more information than less. And if you advanced vapor that already set up your own mouse to long RTA, that a lot of my subscribers are, and they've got quite a few good mouse to long RTAs already, then you could watch it for information only, but this is really meant for those who really would like to upgrade from a stock coil to a mouse to long RTA and they need a helping hand. Okay, so let's go now to the close-up and then we'll talk about it a bit more on the top again. Right, so let's try and build the RTA, mouse to long RTA, and in the process I will explain each tool and what it's meant for. So hopefully by the end of this close-up tutorial you'll know exactly what tools you need and what's the use for. But before we start, we need to understand the concept of mouse to long RTA. What means rebuildable tank atomizer? That's the full name of RTA, yeah? So over here I've got a stock coil tank. That's the Cube Mini. So the concept is that you've got a coil. Now this coil is round wire, and if you can look inside, you can see the cotton. Now the cotton is surrounding the wire, and this coil is touching the pin. Now when this pin touches the mod, yeah, and you fire it, this sends a current through the pin to the base of the coil, and heats up the coil and vaporizes the juice that's within the cotton. And then when you inhale, you're getting the flavor of the juice that you had in the tank. The same idea is rebuildable, but instead of putting in a stock coil, you're building one. Now there is a few types of deck, right? This is the Galaxy's GigVape Galaxy's mouth to long RTA. This is a fairly classic deck. So you've got your positive and you've got your negative, and the coil sits in the middle, and each leg of the coil, one goes to the negative, one goes to the positive, one goes to the negative. And the pin is the same idea as the stock coil. Yeah, so when you fire the mod, the current goes through to the positive and fires up the coil. And then the cotton that's in the coil, as you're going to see soon, will vaporize the liquid that you put in. Now, and the only difference is, instead of putting the liquid in the tank and the coil is absorbing the liquid through the small holes in the coil, here you've got wicking ports. And as you can see, in the bottom of the wicking port, you've got like little holes. Yeah, there's where the juice gets in from the deck, and the cotton absorbs the juice to the coil. So it's the same concept. Now I'll just show you a few types of deck. This is the Expomizer V4. So you see the difference here. The screws are on the side. Yeah. So you've got your screws on the side, and this is a flat screw. And here you've got the screws on the top, and there's a Phillips. But same idea. The coil sits in the middle. Leg here, leg there. Tighten it down. Make sure the coil is in the center. Put your wick through the coil into the wicking ports, and here you've got 3 holes. So it's similar to the 3 holes over here, but a different location. Then when the juice comes down, it will absorb, it will go into these holes and absorb your cotton to the coil. So this is one concept. This is the Artemis mouth to long RTA. Is very similar to the Expomizer on the top, but very similar to the Galaxy and on the shape of the deck. That's a GTA type style deck. So again, the cotton goes down, you see, and then the juice gathers here. The cotton will absorb the juice towards the coil. So there is a few types of deck. Now there is another deck that is the posts are next to each other. These most of the times is fairly easy to put in the coil. You just put in the legs inside these where the screws are, tighten it down. Central is, this is the GigVape Amit mouth to long RDA. So here again, you put down your wick on the sides and it absorbs the liquid through the holes on the bottom of this. This is an RDA, not an RDT. It's not an RTA. So there's no exit point here. All the juice, simply you drip it or squonk it, so the juice gathers underneath and moistens the wick. Okay, so after we've gone through various types of decks. Yep. I'm sorry, this is the Vapefly, not the GigVape. I said, I thought by mistake I said Gig. This is the Vapefly Galaxy mouth to long RTA. Yep, me with names. Right, so now let's get stuck into building this deck, and we'll see what tools we need to start off with. Right, so what we need is first is a screwdriver, right? So when you get your mouse to long RTA, your first one, you will get a screwdriver with the tank normally. So it's either going to be a flathead or a Phillips. Now a lot of new tanks come with hex screws, so you'll need a hex driver. And this is, for instance, a 1.3 millimeter, and this is a 1.5 millimeter, and these two sizes will cover you on all tanks. It's either 1.3 or 1.5. I never came across anything smaller or bigger. So instead of using a screwdriver, you use this type. But the older style are definitely the screws. The newer ones are getting already hex drivers. So what you need, the first tool, is the screwdriver. The second tool is this one here, the Coilmaster. Many times people could build their coil on a mod, but it's not as convenient. It's not as convenient. You can if you want, but for a few pounds you can buy this Coilmaster. I'll put everything in the description, every single tool and the actual name, the official name of it. So like this, you can cut and paste. So this is very important because you could check your ohms, you can dry fire the coil to avoid hotspots. We'll come to that in a minute. And it's just altogether a very good tool, and it goes by 18650 battery. You just put it in the back in here, and it's just a very convenient tool that I use all the time. Right, so you need the screwdriver and the Coilmaster. So let's get started and put in opening the screws in order for you to put in the coil nice and easy. So basically you are opening this where the coil legs have to go. Now this particular deck has got an airflow insert. As you can see here, this is an airflow insert, so you can watch my review on this tank, but basically it just goes in here and it's tightened by the screw here. Yeah, every tank has got a different type of airflow. Some of them don't have inserts, some of them have got fixed inserts, some of them you put in the inserts, but it's self-explanatory. So in this case, this is the screw for that insert. If I would have opened this, I can take this out and put another insert in. So now we take the coil. Now I had already a coil in here. So you take a coil, a mouse to long RTA coil, normally is between 0.8, 0.7 till a 1 ohm, 1.1, 1.2, it varies. I will put below in the description what coil I use, but if you can watch my best of 2020, there you see the best mouse to long RTA coils. This I built myself from a 26 gauge round wire. I think there are 7 wraps, and it should come up as a 0.8, but this is already a bit more advanced. You can buy today top mouse to long RTA coils from NatureVape and Hellvape and Coilology. There's plenty of coils. That's no problem at all. So now you're holding the coil that you chose, right? A mouse to long coil. In order to put it in nice and comfortable, you need the next tool, and that is the coiling tool. I'll put it below so you can know exactly how to find this tool on many websites. And over here, as you can see, it shows you the sizes of the coil. So if I want to check this coil out and see what size it is, so this is a 2.5 in a diameter. Yeah. So now what I do is very simple. You see, the easiest way to do it, you just put your coiling tool with the coil and you just get it central. Yeah. And you just tighten up the screws. That's all there is to it. I'll do it without this now because the legs are short. So you'll just put in the coil, hold it to one finger, and simply tighten the screws to get contact. And doesn't matter if the coil is a bit out of shape, you can sort it out later with your coiling tool. Okay, let me just get this in right. See, I'll just hold it, tighten one side, just make sure that the legs are completely down, so like this, when you tighten the screw it actually grab onto it. All these things are very self-explanatory, but because I'm using a coil that I have used before, I don't want to waste this coil. This is a perfectly good coil. Just the problem is here that the leg sort of, whenever I tighten the screw, it just comes up here. Now we've done it. Okay. So now the coil, as you can see, is not centralized. So what we're going to do is we're going to just pull it out a bit before I tighten it fully. And now I tighten the other side. As you can see, the screws are holding the coil in place. So now normally when you put in the coil, the legs of the coil are quite long, so the coil will hold much better. But because I'm using a coil that I've used before, it took me a second longer to get it into place without it popping out all the time. But now what you see is the coil has to be just, as you can see, just a gap, just a very little bit above the airflow. It shouldn't touch the airflow. The coil shouldn't touch either post on either side. Yeah, you can see this gap. You can see how much there is here gap. Yeah. So the coil now is perfectly centralized, not touching the negative, not touching the positive. It has to be right in the middle and not touching the airflow if you've got an insert the tank that you've chose. Right now, if there is sticking out, as you can see here in the back, so you need the second tool, the next tool. That is very important, the Coil Cutter. Because if you've got a piece of a coil sticking out and it touches the chimney when you close the cap, that can cause a short, and then you have a problem. You won't be able to use that coil. So always make sure that you cut them right flush to the deck on either side. So this is a very important tool. Okay, so now what we come to the Coilmaster, what the whole purpose of the Coilmaster is to avoid hotspots. Now hotspots happen when the coil fires up unevenly and you get these flare-ups in various points, and that will burn the cotton. Instead of vaporizing the liquid, it will just burn the cotton, and then you get a burnt taste in your liquid. So it's very important to just give it a pulse. Now here we come to the next tool, and obviously I'll put it below as well. These are tweezers, ceramic tweezers. You need this in order to rake the coil when you warm it up. Now what it does is it eliminates all the hot spots, and you get an even glow inside out. You can see how it glows up inside out. And in this case, we didn't have many hotspots because it's a round wire. But if you get a fused Clapton or core Clapton, then it's more important to do what I'm doing now. Now let's check the ohms. 0.85, that's roughly the ohmage that I was hoping for, between a 0.8 to 1 ohm. So this is within mouth to lung to vape tobaccos for me, in my instance. Yep. Okay, so now what we need to do is the next tool up, and the next ingredient up, the cotton. Now I use Japanese Muji organic Muji pads, and you can watch my best of 2020. There I've got a list, but I'll put it as well in the description below. And you need scissors. I use Fiskars, and you can see as well, I'll put below as well all that information, so you can have all the information in hand. Now when you go about cutting the cotton, always remember to look at the inner diameter. If this is a 2.5 millimeter, so you don't need such a big piece. So roughly this is the right piece, but this comes with experience. And if you do it too thick, and I'll show you how you know, and if it's too thin, you will know yourself, and eventually you get the idea. This comes with time. So what you do is, I always peel off the outer layers for hygienic purposes, and also to thin the cotton a bit. And by me pinching it now, I think it's a bit too thick, so I'll take out another layer until I'm satisfied that this is the right size. Now many times I can get it wrong, so is no problem. If you feel that the cotton is not going in easy, with too much resistance, then you know it's not right, because then what happens is you simply choke your cotton. So it needs to go in perfect. You see, you can feel it's, you can pull it nearly in one hand. I'm just feeding it in. There is a bit of resistance, but not too much. Now the next bit is a bit of a tricky, because this is where the wicking comes into place. Wicking is very important. If you get it right, it's perfect. If you don't get it right, it can cause you a problem. So the best thing is you fold your wick, and I've done it so many times when I build, to where the wick has to end up touching. And in this case, it's roughly you cut by the O-ring. So you fold your wick to the O-ring, and then you just simply cut it there, and you check it to see if it's the right length. Now this wick has to go in down here, inside here, and touch the deck. So roughly, I think we need even to cut it a bit more. We don't want it to be folded on the bottom. You want it to be hanging loose. So like this, it absorbs the liquid nice and easy. I think this is the right length. And now on the second side is a bit easier, because you can judge according to this size here. Now as you can see, this side is thicker. So what you do is, this is very good. Either you take the tweezers, it's got pointy tweezers, and you just rake out the cotton. You just rake it out a bit, and then just trim it again. So what happens is you thin it, because if it's too thick, it wouldn't wick. It wouldn't wick well. It has to be, the idea has to be fluffy and loose. So now what we're coming up is the next tool. Now the next tool, you can use anything. You can use a small screwdriver, whatever you've got available, just to help you fold the wick into the wicking ports. Now when you do that, you always have to do it gently. It shouldn't be condensed when you push it down. So you sort of guide the cotton down without forcing it. Now in this case it is a bit too long, because as you can see the holes of the wicking port is below here, so the wick has to reach to the end of the threading more or less. So I've done a bit too long, so what you do is you just take it out and cut it a bit further. Yep, it's always, you could always correct things, it's never set in stone, yeah. And then you just feed it in nice and easy. Now it's perfect. So you can see the cotton is sort of reaching to the bottom, and there is room for you to insert your tool. That means it's not over condensed inside, not too squeezed. So when the juice comes, it will absorb it from underneath and feed your coil. Same thing goes here. And here you don't have to thin out because it's already fairly thin. So here you've got now a deck all ready to moisten and start vaping shortly. Right, so just make sure that everything is in right place. So now what you've done is you build your coil. Similar concept to all these that I already done. All these are ready to go decks. We just have to put on them liquid. So I hope it wasn't too complicated. Now, before you put together your tank, first of all, I always put VG on the threading, especially on the deck, because when you need to open the deck to change your cotton, that I do very often, you want it to be easy to open and close. So always put a VG. In here I've got pure VG, 100% VG. So I just give it a bit of a, not on the cotton, just on the threading. And then when I put on the deck, the threading on the chimney would absorb that liquid. Now before we put it together, this is a very classic deck, a cap. You can see the chimney is quite small chimney, it becomes like a dome. This all is for getting the best flavor possible from your coil. And you can always take off the glass, give it a good clean, and you dry it out properly and just put it back. And over here you've got a top cap for you to put in the juice, but we'll come to that in a minute. So now we need to moisten this wick in order for it to give it a head start. Now this juice I'm using is the English mixture by La Tabacaria. This is a delicious full-bodied smoky pipe naturally extracted tobacco that I love in the mornings, and this tank I use mainly for that. So what you do is you give this a little bit of a moistening, not a lot, just to give it a head start. That's it. And then just take your screwdriver or whatever tool you have, just to make sure that all is in properly without squeezing. It doesn't make a difference if a bit of the cotton is not absorbed. Gravity will do the job. So when you put on the cap and you fill up your tank, the juice will simply run down the sides. As you can see, they'll run down the sides, fill up that surface, and the wick will absorb it through the holes in the bottom of the juice well. So let's fill up the tank. That's it, full. It's full. Close the cap. And the tank is ready to vape. Now over here, in this tank in particular, you've got airflow. Besides the insert, you've got airflows here and airflow here. I already configured it to the way I like it. But this is this tank in particular. This other tanks have got, they turn around. Yeah, you've got this type of airflow. The Expromiser's got top airflow. Everyone with their airflow, that is already easy enough to do. Now we just put this on a mod. And we'll have a look to see how it registered. 0.85 ohm, 16 watts. Let's give this a vape. So this was the first inhale that I've taken from a RTA mouse to long that I just built myself. And I think hopefully it was fairly easy and self-explanatory how we went through the various tools. So let's put here the tank, and we'll put just all the tools next to each other as a quick reference. Yeah. So, and this one here. So the Coilmaster, obviously the coil, yeah, the coil that you chose, the Coil Cutter, the tweezers, the coil rod, the tool that you've got, that's any tool, the screwdriver that you got with the tank to open up the screws, you could use that to tuck in the cotton as well, and your scissors and your Muji pad and your liquid, and that is it. So now what we're going to do is we'll just finish this off and we'll talk about it a bit more on top just to finalize things. Yep, okay, see you in just a second. Right, so you've seen the close-up. I've showed you various types of deck. All share the same concept. You need to put the coil legs, one in the positive post and one in the negative post. Secure those two posts while the coil is right bang in the middle, not touching either post and not touching the airflow insert if there is, or the deck below. And putting in your cotton in such a way that it's not going to choke the cotton, it's going to be fluffy enough to absorb liquid. To cut it in the right length to touch the juice wells in such a way that it just absorbs the liquid nice and easy without being folded in the bottom. That's going to just absorb the liquid in the bottom of the wick and not carry it onto the coil. And then you will only vape dried cotton, and you'll get all the time this burnt flavor. That is the main concept of mouth-to-long RTAs. If you do it wrong the first time, nothing happened. You can try to do it again until you get it right. We all done it again and again and again until we got it right. And as soon as you get it right, it's going to become second nature to you. You'll be able to do it in seconds. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through those list of tools. Now I put it as well below so you have it all. So first you need to choose your mouth-to-long RTA. I mean, in this instant I use the Vapefly Galaxies, but you can use a very good option is the Augvape, the Intake from Augvape. That is a very easy deck to work on. You could use the Innokin Ares version 2 as well. A very easy and similar type of deck, except for that the cotton actually goes below. Very similar to the Artemis that I've showed you below. Yeah. So you just have to look to see where the juice meets the cotton. That's basically it. Either it's in an enclosed juice well, or it goes below onto the surface itself. That's the only two options there is. Then you go to the coils. I didn't show you below, but you can see my best of 2020 as well. I use a lot NatureVape, the 1 ohm coil. You can freeze the screen if you want. So like this you can, yep. And I use as well the Coilology 0.8 Fused Clapton. And I use as well from Hellvape as well. Yeah, I'll put it all below. And a latest one I've been using is the Wotofo 0.9 ohm coil. This is a dual core Fused Clapton, and the coil comes in a shape that, for instance, if you get a deck that the two posts are next to each other, like I showed you below, the Geekvape Amit mouse too long RTA. So the legs are already suited for you, just push them in. And if you want to put this on a deck that the posts are opposite each other, you just put in your coiling tool and turn a bit more to get it opposite each other. That's, yep. I will show you in a minute when we get to the coiling tool section. You just push this in, and you just twist it a bit. So like this, the coiling legs are standing opposite each other, so you can put them right in the positive and negative post. Yep, easy. So those are the two things first you need. Then you need the Coilmaster version. I'll put it below as well. Coilmaster 521 mini version 2. That is a very good tool for dry fire, for checking your ohms. It does the job beautifully. Then you need the ceramic tool, the ceramic tweezers. You can use ordinary tweezers as well, but it's best to use ceramic, so like this they don't absorb heat, and also they're pointed so you can rake your cotton. And then we'll need the screwdriver. Now the screwdriver you're going to get with your first mouse too long RTA, either Phillips or flat, or a little Allen key. So then I advise to buy these two, the X drivers. I will put them below as well, so you have the information. And then what you need is the coil cutters to cut your coil. The coil legs, the ones that's sticking out after you secure the post. I'll put that as well below as well. Now you need the cotton. So you've seen the Mujipad, the square. I will go here one. Hold on. Yeah. Yeah, they come in like sort of square pads. Very good cotton. I'll put below exactly that you can cut and paste and find exactly the same ones I'm using. And then you need your liquid. So you could choose any liquid you want. Naturally extracted tobacco, what I use all the time. You could use fruit, dessert, whatever grabs your whatever you're vaping already on your stock coil. So that is basically the whole procedure from A to Z. I will put down below everything. Now there is one thing that I don't have, but I've seen many vapors have got it, and that is the Coilmaster version 3 DIY coil kit that includes everything that I've showed you. I bought these tools one by one, but you can buy this whole kit as one, and that is a very good option. So like this, you have everything you need in one unit. I keep everything in here. I'll show you. I'll just put things away here, keep it tidy. I keep it all in a cup of some kind, and all my tools, I have them handy, so whenever I need to change my cotton, my wick, my coil, it's all available for me straight away. But if you buy this DIY coil kit, you're gonna have everything in one kit. It's very recommended. I put everything below. I hope this tutorial was helpful to you. If it took a bit longer than what I meant to be, it was for a reason. I didn't want to rush it. I wanted to take it slowly. If you would like to choose any mouse too long RTA that I've got on my channel, each one of them I've got close up, and there I show you how I build it, so you can refresh again based on this tutorial how to build that particular deck, because every deck is a bit different. So there I go through the same thing, but specified for that type of deck. Okay, I hope this was helpful. If it was, please leave me in the comments, and I wish you a successful building your first mouse too long RTA, and you'll see the massive difference of the flavor and how economical it is in the long run, that you can change your wick every few days and dry fire the coil, clean it. You can watch my channel there. I've got a video how to keep your coils in tip-top condition, and it can keep them up to 2 months if you look after them well. So you'll save a fortune, and you'll gain top liquid all the time. Not after a while it deteriorates. You can just change your wick, so you'll get back your full flavor. I change every 2 days, especially with tobacco. And you will be able to choose any of the excellent mouse too long RTAs I reviewed on last year and the beginning of this year. Yep, I hope it was helpful. Enjoy building it, and if you're successful, please let me know. That is my reward, knowing that it was helpful to you. And that's it. That is the tutorial. Until the next review, enjoy your vape, enjoy building your first mouse too long RTA, and choose the right one by checking my channel. If you need help, I'll help you further. Okay, that was the end of this tutorial. Until next review, take care. Bye bye for now.